Late evening had wrapped the office building in silence. Only the faint light of a desk lamp shone from the depths of one office, where a young woman sat hugging her knees. Madison, just Maddie to her friends, an intern secretary, stared blankly at the dark computer screen. Her eyes were dry from crying, it felt like she had no tears left. Just a few hours earlier, she had found out her husband was cheating on her. The news hit Maddie like a freight train. At first, she denied it. Her Hunter, her beloved Hunter, would never do such a thing. But the signs were undeniable, the affectionate message she accidentally saw on his phone that clearly wasn't meant for her, his frequent late nights, the growing distance in his eyes. Her world collapsed in an instant. After a heated argument over the phone, God, not even face-to-face, she couldn't bring herself to go back to their rented apartment. Caught off guard by her questions, Hunter snapped back. "Yeah, I cheated. So what? I'm done explaining myself. Come back if you want." Those words still echoed in her ears, reverberating painfully in her soul. Maddie didn't go home. Instead, she instinctively returned to the office where she interned. It was quiet and empty, just what she needed. She curled up in the corner of the reception area and let the tears flow. No one could hear her, everyone had gone home long ago. Only a few monitors glowed in distant rooms, likely left on. She didn't turn on the overhead lights, better to hide in the dark. After some time, the tears ran dry, leaving behind a dull ache beneath her chest. Maddie felt humiliated, betrayed, and utterly lost. She was only 22, and 3 of those years had been spent married to Hunter. She had believed in their love, believed they could overcome anything together, money problems, daily stress, everything. While Maddie finished her final year at university and interned, Hunter had been working for a couple of years already. She chalked up his frequent absences to work, to his effort to provide. How bitter it felt now to realize those absences had masked betrayal. Eventually, Maddie dozed off, curled up on the low leather couch in the reception area. Her consciousness drifted in and out of shallow sleep and harsh reality. Sometimes she imagined this was all a bad dream, that Hunter would hug her in the kitchen and kiss the top of her head. Then reality would jolt her back. One glance at her phone, still displaying their furious argument, and she knew it was all true. It was past midnight when subdued voices woke her. She jerked awake, disoriented. Her heart pounded, someone was in the supposedly empty office. The voices came from the director's office. One was low and masculine, Sterling Campbell, the company's director. The other, hoarse, was harder to place. Probably Felix Hatcher, the corporate lawyer and an old friend of the director's. They must have come in late for urgent business. Maddie panicked inside. It was embarrassing to be caught here at night. She had no right to be in the office after hours, let alone to explain her deeply personal reasons. Instinctively, she froze and listened. Her desk was right next to the director's office, and the door was left slightly ajar. Carefully, she got up and tiptoed toward the sliver of light spilling from beneath the door. The elevator was past that office. No way she could leave unnoticed. She'd just have to wait and hope they'd leave soon. "I never thought Vivian was capable of this," came Sterling's voice, laced with bitterness and exhaustion. "All these years married, and she—" "Sterling, nobody's immune to this kind of thing," Felix replied calmly. "Let's talk strategy. If you're sure about the divorce." "I'm sure," the director cut in coldly. "You don't forgive this." Maddie froze. Divorce? The boss was getting divorced. She knew he was married to Vivian Thornton, a socialite and gallery owner. They were often seen together at corporate events, a seemingly solid, respectable couple, if a little cold. Now, scandal. "The evidence isn't strong enough," Felix continued. "We'll need photos, phone records, video, ideally. For negotiating the asset split, we need leverage." "The irony," Sterling growled. I was faithful like a fool for years, and she had a fling under my nose. With who? I still can't wrap my head around it. Felix cleared his throat. You haven't told me his name. Who is this guy? Not much to know, Sterling said bitterly. Some Hunter Craig. 10 years younger than her. Handsome, her type. He said the last part with scorn. He's probably thrilled, hooked up with a wealthy woman. If needed, we'll look into him, Felix replied. See if we can find any weak points. Maybe he blackmailed her or manipulated her. Oh please, Sterling waved it off. Vivian's no fool. She went into it willingly. She called it love. Love. God, Felix, how could she? Maddie nearly dropped her phone. Hunter Craig. Her Hunter. No, that had to be a coincidence. But the description fit too well. A young, good-looking man, an affair with a wealthy woman. Her stomach twisted. Could her husband really have been cheating, not just with anyone, but with her boss's wife? You just have to keep your head straight, Felix was saying. I get it, you're hurting. But let's handle this properly. People make mistakes when they're emotional. I'm not going to make a public scene, Sterling responded quietly, his voice tense. I just want the divorce. Let her go. But that man, Hunter, I want to have a talk with him. Man to man. Sterling, be careful. You don't need more problems. I know. But I want to look him in the eye, the director said firmly. I want to see who he really is. Maddie clamped a hand over her mouth to stop a gasp from escaping. Every new word confirmed it, yes, they were talking about her Hunter. Shame flared inside her, followed by rage. She took a step back and accidentally kicked over a waste bin. Papers rustled as they scattered across the floor with a dull thud. Who's there? Sterling called sharply. Silence fell. Maddie stood frozen. She knew it was pointless to keep hiding. Taking a deep breath, she knocked softly on the office door and peeked in. Maddie, the director's voice was sharp with surprise. He clearly hadn't expected to see his young intern secretary at this hour. What are you doing here? Felix's eyes widened too, though he then smirked knowingly. I think I'll go grab a smoke, he muttered, recognizing this was something personal, and slipped out, politely shutting the door behind Maddie. She stood there, head lowered, unable to meet her boss's eyes. Her heart pounded in her throat. Shame flooded her. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to eavesdrop. But you did hear us, Sterling said, still standing behind his desk, tall and imposing in the lamplight. Why are you here this late? Maddie took a shaky breath. She had no energy left to lie. I found out today my husband is cheating. I couldn't go home. I came here, just to get through the night. The director hadn't expected that. His expression softened. So, you're going through a rough time, he said, pausing to absorb it. But why did you listen in? That was private. I didn't mean to. Maddie blurted out, raising her eyes, tears glittering there. I heard a familiar name. Hunter Craig, that's my husband. Sterling paled. He stared at her for several seconds, then cursed under his breath. What a small world. He rubbed his face and sank into his chair. Maddie didn't move. She was drowning in shame, realizing she was indirectly tied to her boss's personal disaster. She finally whispered. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have heard any of this. I can leave if you want me to. Sterling looked up at her again. Now, his eyes were full of something else, understanding. No, Maddie. Stay, he said more gently. You didn't do anything wrong. If anything, you're a victim too. He motioned for her to sit. Her knees trembled as she lowered herself to the edge of a chair by the wall. "So, your husband," Sterling began, then shook his head. "Well, at least now we both know the truth." "Yeah," Maddie breathed. Her eyes welled again, but she bit her lip, trying to stay composed. "I'm sorry, I just—" "Stop apologizing," Sterling interrupted, more kindly this time. "You've got enough to deal with. I know what betrayal feels like." Maddie looked at him, surprised by the warmth in his voice. This was the same normally cold, aloof Sterling Campbell. But of course, who better than him to understand her pain? They were both reeling from the same blow. "Thank you," she said softly, eyes on her clenched hands. "You shouldn't feel ashamed," Sterling said suddenly, his voice fierce. Maddie lifted her head. His face was hard, but the anger wasn't aimed at her. "The ones who should feel shame are the ones who lied and betrayed." She nodded slowly. He had given voice to the feeling she hadn't yet dared to articulate. At that moment, Felix returned. "Did you talk it out? Should I come back later?" "Come in, Felix," Sterling sighed. "We've got a new situation on our hands." The lawyer sat on the edge of the desk, glancing from Sterling to Maddie. The director quickly brought him up to speed. The cheating husband was her hunter. Felix whistled softly. "Well, that's one hell of a coincidence. I'm sorry for both of you." Maddie only offered a faint, exhausted smile. She didn't have the energy to react. Sterling frowned. "Well, if we're now brothers in misfortune," he said, "maybe we can help each other." Maddie looked up questioningly. "I intend to strip my wife of the assets," Sterling explained. "We have a prenup. Infidelity gives me solid grounds. But I need hard proof. Do you and your husband have anything to divide?" "No, nothing really," Maddie said quietly. "I don't even know where I'll go after the divorce." Sterling turned to Felix. "Felix, I want her to receive maximum moral compensation from that bastard. Got it?" "We'll make it happen," Felix nodded. "I already have an idea." He began to lay out the legal options, but Maddie barely listened. Her thoughts drifted elsewhere. Just hours ago, she'd felt utterly alone. Now, there were people on her side. The situation was painful, but she wasn't facing it alone anymore. "We'll hit them in court all at once," Felix concluded. "Perfect," Sterling nodded. "Let's do it." He stood and offered Maddie a hand, helping her up. "Maddie, hang in there. This will be hard, but we'll get through it," he said, calm and steady. Something in his voice gave her strength. "Thank you, Sterling," she said, looking into his eyes. "I don't know how to thank you for the support." "You don't have to thank me," he replied. "What you need now is rest, and to return home, to keep our plan under wraps. Get some sleep. Felix will drive you home, right?" "Of course," Felix said. Maddie hesitated. "I don't want to bother anyone. I can go by myself." "No arguments," Sterling cut her off gently. "It's the middle of the night. You shouldn't go alone." He gave her a faint smile. Maddie returned the look with gratitude. Felix was already heading toward the door, car keys in hand. Sterling walked her to the office door. "You're stronger than you think," he said quietly. "Your husband doesn't deserve your tears." Warmth filled her at those words. "I'll try to be strong," she whispered. "For myself. For justice." Sterling nodded in approval. "That's the spirit," he said. After that fateful night, everything unfolded quickly. The very next morning, Maddie and Sterling returned to their homes as if nothing had happened, calm, composed, and silent. They knew they had to remain cool-headed. Maddie became a quiet observer. She didn't argue, didn't ask questions. That calm demeanor lulled Hunter into thinking the storm had passed. Meanwhile, Maddie was collecting everything, saving texts, taking screenshots of his phone messages, and even recording one phone call where he was arranging a meeting with Vivian at a secluded country house. Sterling was just as meticulous. As a seasoned manager, he planned every move ahead. With Felix's help, they obtained surveillance footage from restaurants Vivian frequented and phone records that confirmed her connection with Hunter. But there was more. It turned out Vivian hadn't just been unfaithful, she had secretly been transferring funds from their shared art gallery account to her personal ones, exploiting Sterling's trust. Felix Hatcher drafted a solid legal case. The prenuptial agreement between Sterling and Vivian clearly stated, in the case of infidelity, the guilty party forfeits all rights to shared property. All they needed was proof, and now, with the collected footage, time stamps, and matching details, they had it. It was undeniable, Vivian Thornton and Hunter Craig were having an affair. The court case lasted just over a month. Maddie only appeared once, as a witness. There, she saw Hunter, confident, smirking in a new suit. He didn't even look at her. He turned instead toward Vivian Thornton, the woman he had once whispered dreams of a future to over dinner. Now Vivian avoided his eyes, looking more like a frightened schoolgirl than a glamorous gallery owner. Sterling, in contrast, was calm and precise. No theatrics, just facts and evidence. The prenup held. Infidelity was proven. Vivian lost everything, her share of the gallery, the downtown apartment, and their countryside estate. All of it went to Sterling. The court also noted that Hunter Craig's actions had damaged the company's reputation. Meanwhile, Maddie, through the same lawyer, filed for divorce and requested symbolic damages for emotional distress. The sum wasn't large, but they won the case. The court acknowledged her evidence and the betrayal she had suffered. When all the legal dust settled, Sterling invited her to dinner, not a formal one, but casual, in a small riverside restaurant. They talked about the past few weeks, laughed at absurd moments. It was the first time in a long while Maddie truly laughed. Sterling outside the office was different, dryly humorous, quietly warm. Maddie felt a surprising sense of peace around him. "It's all behind us now," he said as they walked by the river afterward. "We can start over." Maddie nodded silently. They stood together in the cool evening air, listening to the river. He didn't take her hand or make a move, but in his gaze, there was something new, a glimmer of respect, interest, maybe even hope. She sensed it. And although there was still pain inside her, Maddie wasn't afraid to look forward anymore. No one knew what would come next, but something had taken root between them, something stronger than circumstance, trust, mutual respect, and a shared past they had weathered side by side. It would grow into something more. For now, it was just a quiet evening, a warm breeze, and a soft smile on Maddie's face.